Welcome back. So this is our quarter one, week one, part two, and we are done with the pre-test, which is the cage bird, and the looking back of the review for communicative styles. Now we will be continuing with sad little houses, and let me share this wonderful slide shared to us by my colleagues. So, we are now in the brief introduction. Okay. So, what is a social issue? A social issue is a common problem in a present day society and one that many people strive to solve. Some common social issues include poverty, exploitation, pollution, gender inequality, child labor, war, violence, drug abuse, unemployment, bullying, and racial discrimination. These social issues are best reflected in literature because it is a mirror of life and society. They reflect and comment on different life circumstances and concerns of the society. So we can say nowadays that the literature may be spoken language. Now, young people or millennials, as we call them, the millennials tend to express their feelings and issues in other concerns, or can it be personal concern or within a society through the spoken language. So we can also call it a literature in our own time. So there's a saying, not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love, says by Mother Teresa. So as I understand this one, in our own little ways, we can do our part with great love. So, for example, you as a grade 9 student could strive more in your studies, and you can see the difference it would make in your own life. If you focus and seriously study your lessons, could make a big impact in your own life. So, we don't need to be really a person who's really known or a person with great name, but you can do things with great love. If you are sincere and you are honest, it will make a really big difference. Now let's tackle the sad little houses. So this one is the first activity written by Amparo R. Asuncion. So let me read to you this one, and it even have a very good background. Okay. Sad Little Houses by Amparo R. Asuncion. Sad Little Houses. The sad little houses, the poor little houses, the crowded by the riverside, the holes in their roofs and the cracks in their walls. Vainly they try to hide. In the stench of the river, the dark, muddy river, is with them night and day. Pure, fresh air may be had for the moving, but they can't move away. They can only stand by the bank of the river, buried knee deep in clay. They can only stare at the drifting garbage until they too decay. and pass away into ghosts of houses, killed by burning sun, smothered with dust, and then forgotten by everyone. Okay, let's have the second reading. The sad little houses, the poor little houses, crowded by the riverside, the holes in their roofs, the cracks in their walls, vainly they try to hide. So for the first stanza, we can see what is being described. Yes, houses. What kind of houses? Little and poor. Okay. So where can the houses be? By the riverside. Okay. Crowded. So we see there are many little houses. There's a crowd. The holes in the roofs, the cracks in the walls, vainly they try to hide. But can they really hide? The stench of the river, the dark, muddy river, is with them night and day. Pure fresh air may be had for the moving, but they can't move away. Okay, so we can see here the scenario or the surrounding of the sad little houses, which is a stinky river. Okay, muddy. So we can say it's full of garbages. Okay, and of course, that would hurt the nose. Okay, and it does not move away with the air. Next, they can only stand by the bank of the river. So pertaining to the houses, buried knee deep in clay. They can only stare at the drifting garbage until they too decay. So we know that if these sad little houses are made of woods, as time goes by, the wood underneath this knee deep clay will also go decay and pass away into ghosts of houses, killed by burning sun, smothered with dust, and then forgotten by everyone. Okay, so for the first activity, okay, we would have the word detectives. Okay, for these South Little houses. Okay, so let me now go back to the word detectives. Okay, and also the reflection of this poem. Okay, the sad little houses. What do you think are the social issues in the Philippines that is reflected in the poem? Starts with letter P, ends with Y. If you got it, then it's correct. What does the image sad little houses represent? Okay. Do you think this is the meaning of the word stench in the stanza 2? What do you think? The stench of the river. So it has something to do with the smell. Okay. The image of being poor, having being in the lowest part of the society. Okay. So they don't have their own place. They don't have their own house. So they are squat or illegally in the parts of the maybe in Metro Manila and near the river. Okay. What is the tone of the poem? So for our part one, we discussed about the tone. What do you think is the tone of the author in this poem? Is she angry? What does she want with these sad little houses? What is she trying to say? So we can see the poem tackles the issue of poverty in the country. The sad little houses represent the circumstances of some Filipinos who live by the riverside in very poor conditions. So we can also tell that some of them are not really living in Manila, but came from nearby provinces, or it can be on the other parts of the Philippines. But they chose to stay in Manila because they think this is where they can have their jobs. Okay. The poor endure the stench of the dirty river. The word stench means a strong and unpleasant smell. The last stanza shows the writer's appeal. So now we can have the tone. Okay. The appeal of the writer. Okay. With the situation of these people had often been discarded and forgotten. So she may also be um she may also be asking for the help of the people in the government, right? So what are these people already forgotten? So the the tone of the poem is to appeal for this group of people. Okay? So overall the poem has a sympathetic tone. It shows that the writer has sympathy for these people and wants to improve their conditions. All right. So we will have the word detectives, and for this activity you will be needing a pen and a paper, and you can also uh tune in using your tablets. Okay, so that is for the sad little houses. Okay, so I'm gonna share again a part of our activity through this. Okay, okay, so we would have the word detectives. Read the sentences carefully, identify the meaning of the underlined words. So for this one of our objective is for you to know the meaning of the words through context clues. Number one, they look with rapture at the nature's breathtaking beauty. What is the meaning of rapture? A. Fear. B. Happiness. C. Sadness. They look with rapture at the nature's breathtaking beauty. A. Fear. B. Happiness. C. Sadness. Number two. The people were surprised with the woman's stolid attitude during her son's death. What could be the meaning of stolid? A. Calm. B. Emotional. C. Angry. A. Calm. B. Emotional. C. Angry. Number three, the department officials received censure for their misuse of funds. Censure means A. Praise, B. Honor, C. Criticism. Is it praise, honor, or criticism? Number four, some people believe that a black cat crossing your path is a portent of bad luck. Portent, A. Warning, B. Example, C. Result. Is it warning, example, or result? Number five, dark and deep waters are often fraught with menacing predators. A. Caught. B. Filled. C. Lacking. Fraught with menacing predators. A. Caught. B. Filled. C. Lacking. Number six, the running and screaming of children profane the holiness of the church. Is it A. Profane is disrespected, appreciated, or honored. Profane. A. Disrespected. B. Appreciated. C. Honored. Number seven. The doctors did everything they can, but his illness is immedicable. Immedicable. A. Miraculous. B. Serious. Or C. Incurable. A. Miraculous. B. Serious. C. Incurable. Judas Iscariot is the most well known perfidious man in the history of Christianity. Perfidious means A. Loyal, B. Untrustworthy, C. Honest. So knowing Judas Iscariot, what do you think is he? Is he one of the loyal disciple, untrustworthy, or honest? Number nine, they will recon the height of the building. Recon means A. Measure, B. Imagine, C. Draw. A. Measure, B. Imagine, C. Draw. Number 10, the policeman used brute force to break open the door of the suspect's house. A. Weak. Brute is a gentleman. Or C. Violent. Using a force, what do you think? Is it A. Weak? B. Gentleman. C. Violence. Now, how would you describe the condition of the man? Let's have the man with a hoe. Okay? So, a while ago, we had the context clues. And for this context clues, you need to read what are the words before and after the word that you want to know the meaning. Okay, now we will go to the next activity. Okay. So if you've been familiar with The Man with a Hoe by Edwin Mackham. Okay. So let me read this one. And at the background is a painting that is based on the poem. A man with a hoe. So there you see a man. He may be a farmer, right? Okay, so let me read on this. The Man with the Hoe by Edwin Markham. Bowed by the weight of centuries he leans upon his hoe and gazes on the ground. The emptiness of ages in his face, and on his back the burden of the world. Who made him dead to rupture and despair? A thing that grieves not, that never hopes, stolid and stunned, a brother to the oaks, who loosened and let down his brutal jaw, whose was the hand that slanted back his brow, whose breath blew out the light within this brain. Is this the thing the Lord God made and gave? To have dominion over sea and land, to trace the stars and search the heavens for power, to feel the passion of eternity? Is this the dream he dreamt, who shaped the suns and marked their ways upon the ancient deep, down all the stench of hell to its last gulf? There is no shape more terrible than this, more tongue with censure of the word for the soul, more fraught with danger to the universe. What gulfs between him and the seraphim? Slave of the wheel of labor, what to him are Plato and the swing of Pleiades? What the long reaches of the peaks of song, the reef of dawn, the reddening of the rose? Through this dread shape the suffering ages look. Time's tragedy is in that aching stoop. Through this dread shape humanity betrayed, plundered, profaned, and disinherited. Cries protest to the judges of the world. A protest that is also prophecy. O masters, lords, and rulers in all lands, is this the handiwork you give to God? This monstrous thing distorted and soul quenched? How will you ever straighten up this shape? Touch us again with immortality. Give back the upward looking and the light. Rebuild in it the music and the dream. Make right the immemorial infamies, perfidious wrongs, and medicable woes. O masters, lords, and rulers in all lands, how will the future reckon with this man? How answer this brute question? In that hour, when the whirlwinds of rebellion shake the world, how will it be with kingdoms and with kings? With those who shape him to the thing he is, when the dumb terror shakes the seas? So, what is the social issue tackled in the poem? Is it A. Racial discrimination, B. Poor urban planning, C. Exploitation of the working class, or D. Poverty and unemployment? Number two, who is the subject of the poem? A rich person, B. A government official, an immigrant, or an oppressed worker? When you say subject, what or who is being talked about in the poem? Is it A rich person about a rich person, B, a government official, C, an immigrant, or D, an oppressed worker? Number three, how is the man with the hoe viewed? A, respected, B, rich, C, tired, or D, workaholic? So let me go back to one of the lines that will answer this one, that says about the emptiness of ages in his face. So, what do you think? Age face. What do you think? Is the man with the whole view? Is he respected, rich, tired, or workaholic? Number four, what did God plan the man with the hoe to be? A slave, B, an animal, C, a powerful being, or a monstrous thing? Let me go back. So the question is this the thing that the Lord made and gave? So let me have the lines which I think quoted from the Bible. To have dominion over sea and land. So dominion is to have power over sea, okay? So a fisherman, or land can be a farmer. To trace the stars and search the heavens for power. So people can be an astronaut. To feel the passion of eternity. So, is this the dream that he dreamt who shaped the sun? So, in these lines, we can see, or Edwin, the author, Edwin Markham, is asking, is this God's purpose for this man, for humanity, for the human, to be enslaved or to be powerful, or to have? So you see, guys, we are created, as they said, we are created in the image of God. We have our own will. So there are also part in which it says about what goes between him and the seraphim. So seraphim is an angel. The Bible said that um we are created, no, just like angels, but we are just one level lower than angels. So we can see that this is not God's purpose, or what God dreamed about the human that He creates. as the author Edwin Markham says. So, is it a slave? What did God plan the man with the hoe to be? A slave? Be an animal? A powerful being or a monstrous thing? Number five, according to the poem, who caused the misfortunes of the persona? A. Almighty God. B. Nature. C. Working people. Or masters and rulers of the land. So let's go back. O masters, lords, and rulers in all lands, how will the future reckon with this man? How answer his brute question in that hour? So what will be the answer? Is it the Almighty God who caused the misfortunes? The nature? Letter B, the working people? Or the subject of the poem? Or the masters and rulers of the land? Number six, which of the following is important for the man with the hoe? A. Philosophy. B. Music. C. Beauty. Or D. None of the above. Which of the following is important for the man with the hoe? And what do you think is important if your answer is D. None of the above? Number seven, who are the contemporary men with the hoes? A. So contemporary is the new age or uh the now of these people. A. Working people. B. People with disabilities. C. Rich and powerful people. Or D. Marginalized members of the society. Who do you think is the contemporary men with hosts nowadays? Working people? People with disabilities? Rich and powerful people? Or letter D. Marginalized members of the society? Number 8. What do you think is the tone of the poem? A. Threatening. B. Humorous. C. Regretful. Or D. Indifferent. Okay. So for the man with the hoe, you have 1 to 8 questions. And for my students, 2 points is what have you learned about this poem? What are your reflections? Social issue is a common problem in present day society and the one that many people strive to solve. Okay, so social issue, let's say poverty, let's say discrimination, racial discrimination, pollution. See, some people are trying to solve this problem. For example, animal cruelty. We also have laws that protects animals. We have the POW, right, or the that goes for the welfare or the PO, the welfare of the animals. So that is one kind of social issue. And literature mirror life and society because it reflects the comments on the different life circumstances and concerns in the society. Now, literature is not only poems. Now we have the songs. Now, songs or spoken language can also tackle the issues. Okay? Then nowadays, what are our issues? COVID-19 is a big issue, right? Our health and our um um how can we survive this pandemic is one number one social issue in our time today. The about the vaccine, what kind of vaccine, who to be vaccinated, right? So this one is an example of social issue that not only a person or a family or a barangay or a city that would think of, but the whole nation. Okay, let's go back. Tone refers to the attitude of the writer. Now, this attitude can be explained through using adjectives that expresses emotion. So it can be threatening, proud, joy, okay, express happiness, or it can be optimistic. Now, images are mental pictures created through language, appeal to the senses, and can also suggest meanings beyond the mere identity of the object. Okay, so instead of saying you're beautiful, so a writer can say your hair is black as night. So instead of just saying you have beautiful hair, you have very um uh black colored hair, shiny. So you can use images. Your hair is black as night with the stars on it. So it could be the stars. Okay. So context clues. So there are different images that can be used using symbolism. Okay, and other figures of speech, which we will be tackling more on the other part. Okay, on the next part of this week one module. Context clues provide additional information that helps reader understand the meaning of the unfamiliar word. Okay, through the words before and after the word that you don't know the meaning of. So that means the context gives the clue, okay, to the meaning of the word. In the poem The Man with the Hoe by Edwin Markham criticizes the exploitation of the working class by the rich and powerful members of the society, which is still very relevant in our time today because the salary is very small compared to the price of the commodities, basic commodities, the food that this money could buy. So, um, poverty or exploitation to the working class still relevant in our time today. Especially during the pandemic, most of the people lost their jobs and resent or need to do something else for a living. See, these people used to be employees, but right now they begun their business, food businesses. They try other things to survive. And that is how we are as Filipino. We Filipinos, we are resilient. For the activity three, understanding, okay, we'll have checking of understanding. Okay, so we have a new poem. Bend to the Earth by Blas Manuel de Luna. Okay, so let me go back to that activity 3. Okay, so from Sad Little Houses, now we have the Man with the Hoe. What do you think is the similarities of the two poems? Okay, you have your guess. It is poverty and or the exploitation of those who are rich to the poor. Okay. So let me go back to this one. Okay. We have the okay. By the way, before we proceed to the next poem, let me read this one. Powerful members of the society, the person of the poem insists that the worker carries the burden of the world, implying that his labor is essential to the society. Yet the lords and rulers dehumanize him, replacing God's creation with something inhuman and monstrous. The poem ends with a warning that someday the working class will rise up into a rebellion that will shake the world. Okay, so this is the explanation of the author. Okay, that the persona or the writer of the poem insists that the worker carries the burden of the world. They are the working class. For example, in the Philippines, they may be represented by farmers who have this very hard toil, okay, hard work, and yet they don't have their own lands. They till the soil with nothing to eat. You understand that they have all the labors and having that um they carry a big burden in the world. So without the farmers, we have nothing to eat. And yet, so the lords that with small letter L and the rulers. Okay, they humanize the person. So that means taking away the um, God-given entitled. For example, the what God's purpose, the original purpose of God in human. Okay, replacing them with, for example, like degrading. Okay, degrading human or making them a monster. Okay, so for example, these poor people may do bad things because of the stomach that is aching for food. So somewhat the persona is pleading or um what do you call this, um wanted to tell the government officials or those who are rich to be to be fair, okay, to give them what is due to their toil or work, okay, to give them a high salary, okay. And at the end there's a warning that this working class, okay, will rise up and rebel. Okay, so we're done with the questions. The modern man with hose, activity 1.3. Okay, this is an excerpt. News article, graphic organizer. Okay. Philippines still amongst world's worst work countries to work in. For the report. Okay. Manila, Philippines. The Philippines was ranked as among the world's worst work countries to work in, according to the Global Workers' Rights Index in 20 2018. So there we have an article. The report of the International Trade Union Confederation ITUC ranked 142 countries on the degree of respect for workers' rights from 1 to 5, with 1 as the highest rating. The Philippines got the lowest rating of 5 as there are no guarantee of rights for workers in the country even if there are labor laws supposed to protect workers, the report said. While the legislation may spell out certain rights, workers have effectively no access to these rights and are therefore exposed to autocratic regimes and unfair labor practices. Examples that I remember is one of the plea of the working class to this company would allow their employees to work with no pay when it's 31st and having no night differential. So that is one type of how this businessman exploits the working class. Okay, they are not given what is due to them. Okay, so I would agree. I said I will tell. I can tell that I agree to this article. That is what is really happening. Okay. While the legislation may spell out certain rights, workers have effectively no access to these rights and are therefore exposed to autocratic regimes and unfair labor practices. So one labor practice that, for example, when it's 31st of the calendar, they have no pay, even though they work. They're not given the correct salary and also the bonuses that they should be getting. For example, Christmas bonus because it's in the law already. Said ITUC, a confederation of national trade union centers organized in 2006. The Philippines received the same rating in 2017 report, where it was also ranked among the worst in the terms of respect for workers' rights. Sharon Burrow, ITUC General Secretary, said that the workers in the Philippines still struggle to assert their basic rights and are faced with violent opposition of employers if they do. Despite the collective efforts to achieve better wages and working conditions, there was a rise in repression, intimidation, and discrimination faced by working people, Barrow said. The report cited blatant union bursting and worker layoffs in Semiconductor Factory Merchant Incorporated and Korean-owned Shinsan Tropical Fruit Corporation. ITUC also noted the violence that erupted during a strike involving union leaders of Japanese fruit exporter Sumitomo Fruit Company. The union leaders were reportedly beaten up and interrogated by the police, which is very sad because instead of them having um, being fair, okay, being protected by the labor law, more of the Filipinos are exploited. So in this one, Philippines still among world's worst countries to work in. So why is the Philippines considered as one of the worst countries to work in? So we will go back. Why? Okay. Because Philippines was ranked 5. Okay, 5 is the worst because as this group of people, ITUC, okay, the International Trade Union Confederation, um, certain rights, there are certain rights, labor rights that workers had no access to. Okay, what happened when the people, working people asserted their rights? They are intimidated. What else? Okay, rise of repression, intimidation, and discrimination faced by working people, by these employers. Okay. In what way is their condition similar to the man with the hoe? I think they're similar in that they have no choice. You can see an image of a person very tired, having hard work with no pay or with no fair pay of their what they work for. What could be a possible solution to the social issue presented in the text? Issue solution to this issue may be the government to really have the law, labor law that would protect our people and give them what is due to them. So I can see for this kind of social issue, um, we have the media to help us expose this kind of exploitation. And I hope and pray that people in the government would be looking at the welfare of the workers and not and will not go with the rich employers who exploits the Filipinos working class. Okay, so we're done with that one. Let's move on. Okay, checking your understanding. Okay, make connections. So read the following excerpts. Identify the social issues being reflected in the literary text. Choose your answers from the box, then explain the writer's tone in the poem. Write your answers on the blank provided. I look in the world from awakening eyes in a black face. And this is what I see, this fence of narrow space assigned to me. I look then at the silly walls through dark eyes in a dark face. And this is what I know, that all these walls oppression builds will have to go. I look at the world by Langston Hughes. Is it pollution, abuse of power, gender inequality, poverty, or racism? So here we have our clues: black face. Okay, dark eyes in the dark face. So what do you think is the social issue? Number two, did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders failing down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I'll rise. Still I rise by Maya Angelou. Remember the author of Cage Bird? Cage Bird. Okay. So what do you think is the social issue? Okay. Is it abuse of power or poverty? Okay, the third one. They eat beans mostly, this old yellow pair. Dinner is a usual affair. Plain chipware on a plane and creaking wood. Thin flatware. Bean Eaters by Gwendolyn Brooks. So, they had nothing to eat but beans. What do you think? Step aside, please. Number four. While our officer inspects your bad attitude, you have no rights we are bound to respect. Please remain calm, or we can't be held responsible for what happens to you. We are not responsible by Harriet Mullen. What do you think? Mm, it's like a policeman threatening a victim or threatening. Okay, so it can be abuse of power. What do you think? All right, let's move on. Bend to the earth, and I will go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, bend to the earth. Let us see. So we have here bend to the earth by Blas Manuel de Luna. They had hit Reuben, with the high beams had blinded him so that the van he was driving, full of Mexicans going to pick tomatoes, would have to stop. Reuben spun the van into irrigation ditch, spun the 5-year-old me awake to immigration officers' carts. Their batons already out, already looking for the soft spots on the body. To my mother being handcuffed and dragged to a van, to my father trying to show them our green. They let us go. But Alvaro was going back. So was his brother Fernando. So was their sister Sonia. Their mother did not skip, and so was going back. Their father was somewhere in the field and was free. There were no great truths revealed to me then, no wisdom given to me by anyone. I was a child who had seen what piece of polished wood could do to a face, who had seen his father about to lose the one he loved, who had lost some friends who would never return, who later that morning bent to the earth and went to work. Bent to the earth. So for this one, we can have a full of images. So we can see that the persona is a 5-year old. We can say it's a boy. What do you think? 5-year old child, and he was with his family, but then a beam of light had hit um Ruben, who is the driver of the van. And we can say that there are two families, the family of the 5-year old and another family. Okay, so we have here the names. So Reuben is the driver. Okay, and there are violence that this young child um was able to see. Okay, and also the set of immigration officers, so maybe they are traveling from one part to another in which they should not be going. Okay, so we have Alvaro, Fernando, and Sonia, and then their mother did not escape. We don't know what happened. Um, were they hurt? Okay. Their father was somewhere in the field and was free. Okay. So what is the meaning of that? Somewhere in the field. Okay. So he said that he was a child who was seen a piece of polished wood, a baton, okay, or a baton would do to a face. So that is a violence. Okay. And you know, when a young child was able to experience, okay, bend to the earth, such a horrible violence, see, that um, they should not be experiencing. Okay, we will go back to the questions for the bend to earth. I can say that the tone of this is horrible. It's full of violence, right? Okay, number one. Who is the person in the poem? A. An educated person. B. A slave. C. A professional or D. A politician. What do you think is the persona? Number two. Which of the following words best describes their condition? Are they free? Are they contented? Oppressed, or powerful? A. Free. B. Contented. C. Oppressed. D. Powerful. Number three. What does the word revealed mean? A. Exposed. B. Hidden. C. Denied. D. Buried. What social issue is reflected in the poem? A. Exploitation of the working class. B. Poor working conditions. C. Land grabbing. Or D. Environmental issues. So you can choose from this. Number five. What is the tone of the poem? Is it A. Vengeful. B. Gloomy. C. Hopeful. Or D. Regretful. So we have the post-test. Okay, reflective learning sheet. Tribute to a working man. Okay. So you have to write the name or the profession inside a ribbon. So you can use any of the working kinds, the farmer, fisherman, teachers, what else? Um contractuals or the other working people. And then write a letter, a poem, or essay as a tribute. So why don't you use the the job of your parents? Let's say your father. What does he do? And then you write his job and then write a letter or a poem that appreciates what he does. Okay. How would you describe his present condition? What do you think he is not given enough recognition? Why is his work important to the society? Okay. So another one, you have the rubrics. Is it strong grasp, 4 to 5 points, progressing, needs improvement, or way? Okay. So this is how we will um check your tribute to the working man. Content, creativity, and grammar. And that will be the post test. And okay, that will how will you be able to express your reflection on this social topic? Okay, an exploit to a working man. And again, class, kindly send your answers to my account. Okay. So that will be for all that will be all for the quarter 2 week 1 and part 1. Okay, in which we have engaging with the social issues of our time. We had our pre-test, okay, from the poem Cage Bird. In this one, we have deprived of freedom, okay, about denial of freedom, okay, and then we reviewed the communicative style. Remember, frozen, formal, consultative, casual, and intimate style in communication. So we have the social issue, okay, the tone of the writer, okay, the images, and context clues. For our part 2 of the week 1, we will discuss deeply on this um literary devices. All right. So, after our post test, we tackled the sad little houses by Amparo R. Asuncion. Okay, that talks about poverty. We had our word detectives, in which you are to know how to know the meaning through context clues. Okay, make connections in the words, okay, that you have. We also have our main literature, which is written by Edwin Markham, The Man with the Hoe, okay, which is the appeal of the writer to the rulers of this present times to be fair with those working people, okay, in which we have the exploitation of the working class. Aside from that, we also had the article, The Modern Men with Hoes, okay, and you were asked to have a graphic organizer. So from the report, you were asked to answer 4 questions. Okay. So which the answers are included in the article. So we have the social issue, how literature reflects the issues, okay, and comments of life circumstances. And then we also have make connections, okay, what kind of social, in which you are asked to identify the kinds of social issues. And lastly, we had the poem Bent to the Earth, which is very gruesome in tone, very frightful and violent. Okay. And at the end, for our post test, you are asked to write a tribute, a poem or a letter that appreciates the working class. Okay, that will be all, guys. I would like to thank you. So, this is the quarter 1, week 1, part 2. Have a blessed day and see you on my next live. Goodbye.